First, we heard about the camps. Hundreds of thousands of people locked up and fed propaganda. Then came stories of torture and abuse, forced labor and coercive birth control.
The very first thing that people can do and governments and bodies can do is to actually call the child by its name.
Beijing calls these vocational training centers.
There are education center. It's for help the people who have been brainwashed by extremists.
A legal claim sent to the International Criminal Court describes things differently.
We are alleging, based on the evidence which requires further investigation, crimes of genocide and crimes against humanity.
The lawyers say they'll be relying on a significant body of evidence, including documents recently uncovered and witness testimony from people who have personal, first-hand experience of the repressive regime imposed in Xinjiang, and crucially, who've made it out to tell their stories. Zumrat Dawood is one of those people. Now safe in the United States, her story begins in early 2018 when she was summoned to the local police station in Xinjiang. After questioning, she was taken to a detention center.
İçeri girsem pek uzun bir koridor. İki tarafta öğlen onu sırttan qarsanız bir türmedek his qilmaysiz. İşletmegen bir işxana binaları degandek. Şu aşlarni, işçilerini türmede qilib, eshiklerini, derizlerini aşında tömür reshetkalar bilan itib aşında qilayotgan ekan.
When the Chinese government took our BBC colleagues on a rare tour last year, they wanted to show a happy place where Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities are de-radicalized and learn job and language skills. But people who've been inside paint a very different picture. A relentless routine of propaganda lectures on the dangers of Islam and the values of the party. Guards meting out harsh punishments to those who break the rules.
Ayak bilen benim dümbülerimge kaltakla urup aşağı kaldı. Yani yardım kılamsa da iştekiler degen çır bakırıp gitti onda kuma vurma. Bu iş kanda işini bilmeydi o da dedi. Aşağı tosun şunda urup gitti şuna Xuda dep bir ağzında Xuda dep ketkenini bilmem. Xudarını çakıra Xudarını sen Xudarını nojosa meni aldımdan meni kutuldıralırsın sen Xudarını nojosa.
Every 2 weeks, Zumrat says, the women were given an injection. Every day, they were forced to take a pill. Substances unknown.
Bu doğrularını işkendeyken bizde bir xil xamuşluq yüz berdi, xamuşluq mındalıqı. Siz hiç qachon bir uyingizda kim qoldi? Mesela ama desem benim 5 yaşlı kızım öyle kaldı. Ahmet'in tatlık vakitleri şu kızımnınki. 5 yaşlı kızımını mı bir oylayamadım bunun içinde. Dadam talahda yoldaşım, ballarım, 3 balam urup tutkan hemen asem. Bir hakikaten moment ulanımında bir günüm özsülü bolduyum şeyden bir sağ salamet bolsamla boldu. Men öttürüp etmesi boldu bir gün şu oylaydığını biz öttürüp etmesi boldu. Aşında kılıp şikayını ötkazdım aşağı içinde.
Access to Xinjiang is tightly controlled. Communication with outsiders closely monitored. So we don't know exactly how many people have been held in these camps. Researchers estimate the number is likely over 1 million. The latest information, which appears to be corroborated by footage collected by activists, suggests many are being sent from the re-education camps to work in factories.
A lot of people have been released into coercive labor, especially from the so-called vocational training camps. Those have been put into factories, often industrial parks, that are heavily secured and guarded. At the same time, however, it's clear that a large number of especially the more intellectual elite, academics, artists, musicians, have been sentenced to long prison terms. So they're kind of being put aside, they're out of the way, so that Beijing can coercively re-engineer Uyghur society.
Zumrat Dawood was released after 2 months, but there was worse to come. Because she'd exceeded China's two-child policy, she was made to pay a fine. Then she said they told her she'd been selected to undergo a sterilization procedure, free of charge. She was horrified.
Әмді баллық болмайдыған бір нәрсе испірәйлі, дісәкім olmadı. Ya çokum kılıdı, ondak bolsa sen oylama onda olsa, yani ögünüş degan narsani sen hozir chiqqaning bilan yana ikkinchi qatim kirmayman deyolmaysan. Ondan keyin shu atsa dushanba kuni shu aholilar komitetiga at deganda nashta qilmay chiqqanlar dedi, ma'qul deb at deganda shu amalning yo'qidan xuddi bir meni qassobning oldiga atmagandeklar bir xil ko'nglim yerimdan at degan chiqdim.
Zumrat was taken to a clinic and given a general anesthetic. When she came round, she found herself on a ward together with other women.
Birden turuplu mening öz ko'zimni echib bir yarim saatdan keyin menga og'riq kirishga boshladi qo'zg'imga. Shuning bilan men boshlar o'xshashlar o'rashga boshladim u yerda. U shundan mujuvati o'qo'saq degan shunchalik darajada og'riq.
Zumrat's experience is not an isolated incident. New research published last month suggests women in Xinjiang are being forced to be sterilized or fitted with contraceptive devices on a large scale.
It's a birth prevention scheme, which relies on three pillars, I would argue. Firstly, on draconian punishments, notably internment for those who violate birth control policies. Secondly, for a mass program of inserting intrauterine devices into women. And thirdly, a program of mass sterilization, for which we have specific target figures for 2 Uyghur counties, which in 2019 plan to sterilize between 14 and 34% of all women of reproductive age.
The researchers uncovered documents that appear to corroborate Zumrat's allegation that people are being threatened with internment if they don't submit to sterilization. These aren't secret documents. They're publicly available, archived on local government websites. I mean, here's one from May 2018 that says that women who exceed birth quotas must adopt birth control measures with long-term effectiveness and, quote, be subjected to vocational skills, education and training. That same euphemism that Chinese officials always use to refer to the re-education camps. China has called the allegations in the report baseless, but the documentary evidence and witness testimony from Zumrat and others will be used to try to persuade the prosecutor at the ICC to investigate and potentially charge senior Chinese officials.
The policy doesn't start with the camp guards. It's coming from the top down. That is the direction that it's following, and we are using the well-established principles of command and superior responsibility that the ICC has relied upon, that was also drawn upon at the Yugoslav tribunal, and going right back to the Nuremberg and Tokyo tribunals.
There is a problem here in that China is not a signatory to the Rome Statute. It's not signed up to the ICC. But the lawyers in this case are arguing that some of the alleged victims were forcibly brought back to China from other countries that are signatories, and therefore the International Criminal Court does have jurisdiction here. After the operation, Zumrat and her family managed to flee Xinjiang to the United States, where she spoke publicly at the United Nations about her experiences, a decision she feared could have repercussions back home.
Akam bir gün yig'lab turib, unda qilmangmi, akam dadam hozir sog' chiqanda siz to'rga ortib bir narsa chiqarmang, atrofdagilarga ortib kelib qolmang deb ashta uchirib qoldirib qo'yibdi.
Not long after, a neighbour sent her some footage of a funeral. Her father had passed away. State media in China has denied he was ever detained by police. They say he died of a long-term heart condition.
Bir dadamni desam, nurg'un adam bilamasdan, nurg'un adam yig'lamasdan. Shunchalik qo'rqdim hamda uydagilarimga birishib qolaman, mening qarindoshlarim vatanda. Men Amerikada bir so'z qilganim uchun dadamdan ayrildim.
Uyghurs face devastating choices, whether in exile or at home. And in the face of perhaps the most powerful state on earth, the search for justice at the ICC is a long shot.